get by. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Weiss here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs and leaders. Today is no different. I have Kamal Singh of AMZ One Step. You can check him out at amzonestep.com. Kamal, before I formally introduce you, I always like to point out other episodes of the podcast people should check out. We were actually talking about 80-20 before we hit record. Perry Marshall was on, and he has a great book, 80-20 Sales and Marketing, one of my favorites. That's a great episode to check out. Since this is part of the Top Agency series, I had Jason Swink on. Jason Swink talked about building his agency to 8 figures and selling it, and then how he had been buying up agencies. Actually, Kamal purchased an agency too, so we'll talk about that. Another good one, Kamal, was Kevin Hurrigan. He's at an agency since 1995. So he talked about the landscape of the internet, of business, and of agency at that point throughout the past couple decades. So that was an interesting one. Check them more out at inspiredinsider.com. And this episode is brought to you by Rise 25. At Rise 25, we help businesses give to and connect to their dream relationships and partnerships. How do we do that? We do that by helping you run your podcast. We're an easy button for a company to launch and run a podcast. And we do the accountability, the strategy, and the full execution. So Kamal, we're kind of like the magic elves that run in the background, kind of like you are for Amazon brands, except for we are for podcasts. And we're running in the background to make it look easy for the host and the company so they can create amazing content, amazing relationships, most importantly, run their business. You know, for me, the number one thing in my life is relationships. I'm always looking at ways to give to my best relationships. And I found no better way over the past decade to profile the people and companies I most admire on this planet and share with the world what they're working on. So if you've thought about podcasting, you should. If you have questions, go to rise25.com or email us at support@rise25.com. I'm excited to introduce Kamal Singh. He's the CEO and founder of AMZ One Step. Kamal actually acquired Kenji ROI, one of the leading Amazon agencies, in 2022. He started selling on Amazon, though, in 2015. And I find this is the case, Kamal. People start off with retail arbitrage. Then they build a successful private label brand, which is what you did, and you eventually sold it in 2018. And AMZ One Step and his team have created over 100,000 infographics for Amazon sellers. And they're very passionate about conversion optimization, branding on Amazon, and everything Amazon related. So Kamal, thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. Thanks for the warm introduction, and I'm super excited to be here on your show, and excited to talk about lots of things today.
I want to start off and have you just talk about AMZ One Step, and I'm going to share my screen so people can check out the website as well. And I especially appreciate you doing this interview because at this time of this, you have a 1-month-old, so you're sleep deprived. So talk about AMZ One Step and what you do.
Yeah, so what we do is we help Amazon brands make their listings look better and convert better. So we do product photography, videos, A+ content, listing copywriting, 3D rendering, all sort of good stuff. So which will help you get more traffic on Amazon and convert a lot more. So, people don't buy products on Amazon, as they say, they buy pictures. So that's what we do for e-commerce brands.
You could see some of the cool stuff here. We'll look at some of the white background. We see some bibs, we see some controllers, and then some videos here as well. Some 3D rendering here, and then packaging, EBC designs, listing optimization. What was interesting is, well, I love this this Hulk coming out in 3D. How did you get into doing this in the first place? What made you just start the company?
Okay, so when I started as an Amazon seller, before that, I was a student of a friend of mine. I was learning how to do trading and forex exchange. So he was charging handsome amount of money just to teach people how to do that. And I did sign up for his course, but I did not I did not find much value, or I was like, okay, this is something not for me. I want to do something instead, which something different, which is like more suited to my personality. So I heard of Amazon FBA, years ago. So I searched for that on Amazon, on YouTube. So I watched like thousands of videos in a matter of 2 to 3 months, and I took action at the same time, created my seller account and everything. So my goal was always to learn it first and then teach it to other people. So I learned it for like first year. Then I was, plan was to teach others. So I created a community like in city of Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, Montreal, even in Chicago. So I was doing like meetups, like in-person meetups where people, it was a quite a big thing before COVID. People would just come and, meet and talk about like, if they share common interest. So community started to build up. So I got like really, good students to teach them like, how to do Amazon FBA. But at one point, I was like, okay, this is too much. I was getting calls, at midnight, early mornings, people were asking me question on how to do Amazon FBA. I did not have like a course, so I was like, okay, this is something not for me. However, people were asking me, hey, who does your pictures? Who does your video? Like, who does your EBC? So I had a lot of people asking me about that. I'm like, okay, you know what? Here's an opportunity to start an agency and just connect them, not connect like, just have everything under my umbrella. And then just I started to hire designers, video editors. So that's how the AMZ One Step was born.
What was the first critical hire for you?
The critical hire was customer success manager, the first one that we hired, and he was really good. His name is Curtis, and what what happened was when he initially took on lot of fulfillment and operations, they were like taken away from my hand, and I was like, wow, I got like so much of free time now. I could spend somewhere else. So that kind of opened up new horizons, like how much value the a critical or like an important hire could make in the business. So that was the first hire which changed the way I think about hiring right now.
How did you find Curtis?
I think that was, I think it was on Indeed, posted, and we did some interviews. My partner did the interview, and he's really good at finding people. So it was like, we were not really sure like what exactly, what kind of candidate are we looking for, and we were like brand like very fresh. So once we found him, like that it just happened, by accident. So, but that kind of taught us like what kind of person we should look for when hiring in the new, in the future.
So the very beginning, it's the two of you co-founders, and you had some contractors helping with fulfillment, and then you had Curtis come on to help manage more operations and kind of the go-between and everything. How did you meet your other founder, sit down?
Yeah, so it was at one of those meetups that I was organizing. So he was like, asking lots of good questions. He really wanted to, be successful at Amazon FBA. Then, at one meetup, I asked him like, hey, I have this, new startup thing going on. I think you would be a great fit. Let me know if you want to be a part of this journey. And he said, yeah, he's a CPA. So he's like, okay, I gotta give my exam first. I gotta prep for that, but after 4 months I can come and join you. I was like, wow, okay, sounds good. So that's how I got him on board through the same network that I created. Yeah,
It's all about relationships, right?
exactly. Yeah.
Let's take a step back for a second. There is a couple things we were discussing before we record that is kind of instrumental, I think, in your success and one of the steps towards when you hired Curtis. So we'll talk about some of those things that you're thinking about in the business, which, in my opinion, this is stuff I think about too. So I'm looking forward to hearing your take on this. But when you started your private label brand, how did you figure out what to sell at the time?
I watched lots of videos on YouTube. That's number one, learned a lot, but somehow I still failed my first two products. So I thought I knew everything, just by watching videos, but that was not the case. I sourced a product, spent about $10,000, um, and then it turned out that that product cannot be stored at Amazon warehouse because it's a hazmat, it's a hazard to Amazon warehouse. It's flammable. There was like some flammable like chemical in it.
Hmm.
No YouTube video taught that. Like that was like
What
first
was the product?
this was it's called barometer, or it's called weather predictor. Like it's a liquid in the glass, and then the flakes would just change the shape depending on what weather is outside. That's a um yeah, that was the
So it had a liquid inside that was flammable, and then they won't allow you to store it in the Amazon FBA.
that was my first product, right? That failed miserably. I ended up like selling it on Facebook. It took me 2 years to get rid of the whole inventory. Uh, that was one. The second failed product was, I launched iPhone accessories. People were complaining a lot about quality, because it was very performance based. The product worked really well for like 5 to 6 months, then it would just break down, right? So I tested the quality, but I did not test the long enough
Hmm.
cycle. So that's where like I missed the mark. And I'm like, oh, okay, I should not go into performance-based products, right? And then my third product was, it's called felt letter boards. It was very popular, and I happened to be one of the first sellers on Amazon to sell felt letter boards, and those ones picked up and they were like really well. So that's how I covered up for my previous losses and gave me confidence to sell more. And at the same time, it's a very cash incentive business to run. Like you need a lot of money in the inventory. So I was
Yeah,
like,
the
okay,
more you sell, you have to buy a whole load of inventory, and yeah, and then sell it, and then you need more inventory the more you sell. So yeah.
then you launch more products, right? Which is like another cash flow thing. So I was like, okay, you know what, I don't want to play this game. I would rather focus on my agency and sell this brand. So I sold that brand. You know I was very happy, but 2 years later, I found very challenging that my Amazon knowledge is kind of degrading. If I do want to run an Amazon agency, I need to stay on top of, what's brand new, up and coming. And the only way for me to stay up there is I have my own Amazon seller account. Then I ended up buying a different, business, which is Amazon Business, and then I still have that. So it just helps me.
Keeps your
So both,
skills fresh.
exactly, yeah.
Why felt boards? I'm wondering what if you use tools and softwares you recommend from like a research perspective now, but why felt boards? Were you doing research at the time?
It's all maths, right?
Seems random.
It's all random. It's all like, trying to fit that product in the criteria, which would like, not fail, right? There's
Yeah.
like a bunch of things, you can't
Yeah.
launch anything which is patent or trademarked by someone else. You can't launch where there's like crazy competition. There's like 24 different factors that I was like, comparing, choose. It was kind of my checklist. Every product I wanted to make sure like at least 18 or 19 they check that checklist before I launched that product. So felt letter boards did check most of those, checkpoints that I look for in a successful product.
What were some of those the checklist?
Okay, so
Do you
uh,
share the checklist on AMZ One Step? If not, that
I
should be your next lead magnet or something.
you're right. That is so true. Yeah. So first,
So list them now. We'll turn it into you could put it on as a separate lead magnet on the site. What's the
exactly.
checklist?
So the product must be selling well. There needs to be enough volume. Like people need to be searching for that product. There needs to be less competition, but still a healthy competition. For example, reviews should be less than 500, for most of the sellers, and all of them needs to be making at least some amount of money. Sometimes you see on Amazon only two people are making like 99% of the revenue, and everybody else just makes the remaining. So there needs to be equal distribution of revenue, and then it should not be seasonal. It should be like little. It should be over like $20 price point, otherwise you won't have margins, right? It should not be patent, right? Nobody else should have a patent on it. No other big brand should be competing there should be, you don't want to compete with those big giants. So look for something where you can build a brand. And one is where there's like, you can always launch future versions, like extensions of, you can diversify. That is one part. And list just goes on and on. Um, yeah, so like I don't have like 24 on top
That's
of my
cool.
head.
No, that's good. Talk about tools, software. What do you recommend people use? What do you like to use?
We use Helium 10. It's a really good software, for someone who's just starting out. They also have like a free course that you can take. Uh, and Data Dive is a up and coming really good software that sellers are loving it. So these are the two tools which are really good. They pretty much have
Does
everything.
Brandon own Data Dive?
Yeah, Brandon Young. Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon Young. Okay. Yep. I know Brandon. What else do you use?
For these are the like main product research, like bigger tools. The other tools, that we normally use for split testing is like Pickful, IntelliV, so that we can split test like different creatives. Seller board for bookkeeping purposes. Then there's like so stocked for inventory management. There's like specialized tools for like each and every part of your business that you can use, or you can just use like Teradive or Helium 10 that has like whole suite of tools in it. Carbon 6, is another name that has like pretty much everything uh, built into it. But if you're just starting out, you don't need like all of them. You can just start with one and then slowly add, as your needs, go up.
And I'll give Kamal shout out to Yoni from Gatita. I know you've chatted with Yoni too, and they help get some money back from Amazon.
How can I miss that one? Yeah, Yoni, Getida, Rob Stanley, that's such a powerful software. So, for example, once you're selling, you're gonna need reimbursement. So, yeah, that's another tool that's really good. So there's like so many softwares out there, but these are the top ones.
Love
Uh,
it. Well, we were talking about running the business, and for you, you're thinking of a few things. Which, if anyone is a business owner like me, these are definitely things that are go through my head. And one of the things you're thinking about and working on is finding constraints, managing time and focus. So, what are some of the things? I don't know if you have a process around it. How do you think about managing or finding the constraints in the business?
Yeah, so I always say that I'm not an experienced entrepreneur. I'm learning, I had a corporate job before this business. I did like, businesses here and there, but this is like actual real business which scaled, up to multiple seven figures. So I'm still learning. So, when we hit, last year we hit the plateau, right? The revenue was just not growing up, and I found myself like busy all the time. 1 year later, I found out there has to be something wrong that I'm doing. Both of these things cannot be true. Either, business is flat, it's not going up, and I'm also working like, 12 hours a day. Something is not correct. So I was listening to podcast and stuff. Then I came across theory of constraints, right? And how a business owner should be, focusing on like finding the constraint in the business and just focusing only on that. And once I started doing that, I saw a significant improvement, in my productivity, my mental health. Like business saw uptick like right away. Like, people were happy. So that is the thing that I'm trying to get better on, like, finding constraints and working on them. Sometimes, I find constraints and which is not really a constraint. So that is the key point where my focus is right now. Listening to YouTube videos and podcasts, trying to read books, to because I have kind of I have the understanding already that this stuff really works. So just trying to dive deeper into that part.
What's an example, Paul, that you could think of where maybe there's an example you found a constraint, what that constraint was, and then also another one maybe you found a constraint or you thought it was, but it actually wasn't.
Okay. So there's two. Okay. So in our operations, we have to, let's say if we are creating a listing, it goes through like different phases. Like there's a research and planning, then we do photography and videography, then we do like the graphic design and like all those editing work, then we do the quality assurance, then we deliver it to the client and we do the revisions if changes are required. So you know so we until then we were not tracking everything. So what we first thing we did, we started to track how many projects each stage we complete every single day. We tracked that for about 1 week and we found out that our photography, our studios, they're only doing like 2 a day when all others they can do like 7 to 8 a day. Were like, okay, if we want to increase our input, this is where my focus needs to go. Right. So that was the constraint. Right. And what happened, even though our one constraint can create multiple bottlenecks, right? Which can confuse the whole picture. So you have to you have to understand what's the bottleneck and what is the constraint. So that 1 week of tracking really helped me finding that constraint, and which was, that's one example. Second, that I thought it was not a constraint, which I thought it was a constraint, which it wasn't. For example, getting more leads, or working on like more leads is a constraint. A lot of sellers or a lot of like people think that, but that's not really a constraint. It's only you're only moving constraint from one point to another. Let's say you do get more leads, you do close more deals. What does that happen? That constraint goes to the next phase, then it goes to the next phase. So you're just moving the constraint, which is not really a constraint, right? So
It's
that's
not
one.
bottlenecking the process. Like in the case, the photos and images were bottlenecking the process. If you put 100 people in, they would get bottlenecked at the photo for photography phase. But if you put 100 people in the client as a client, they would just go to the next stage and they'll get bottlenecked. So the constraint is where it really like backs up, is what you're saying. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'd love to hear, thank you for sharing that. That helps. I'd love to hear some of your favorite books and resources. One of my favorites is exactly what you're talking about. Is it probably one of your favorites too? The Goal, the book called The Goal, A Process of Ongoing Improvement. So that is amazing. I think they've sold over 10 million copies of this book, and it's a fantastic book. So I'd love to hear some of your favorites. I don't know if that's one of yours too.
Yeah, so it's something similar. It's called the Great CEOs Are Lazy, by Jim Schlechter. So that is the book
Yeah.
where I got this idea of working on constraints and fixing them. So that book has been very close to
I
me.
had Jim on the podcast, so I'll have to message him that that's one of your favorites. That's awesome.
That's amazing. Yeah, so he's got to be you know one of the top experts out there on constraints, especially. So yeah, it's his book that I've been loving that one.
Any other, I don't know, resources, podcasts stick out to you? And it could be about constraints or about whatever.
Yeah, Alex Hermosi and Leila Hermosi, both of them have been putting out like phenomenal content out there, and I do find lots of things relevant that which we can learn and implement from them like right away. Especially Leila Hermosi, like she is the operational person into the leadership role, and whenever I watch her videos, and you can pretty much sense that it's coming from a legitimate person and with experience. So that has been helping a lot, and I've been following both of them. And there's one more guy called Ravi Abuwala. He's been a systems guy, really good guy at he has systemized pretty much everything in his business. Like go like he's got like house manager, go eventually, like even if you want to go on a date with your girlfriend, like everything is like scheduled and systemized. So which I was like, oh wow, that's really cool, which allows you know you to get back time, and the time that you can spend on like doing things that you really love, and that time can be bought back by the system.
Does he have a book come on, or what resource do you recommend people checking out for him?
I think he's on podcast, like YouTube channel, Ravi Abuwala. I think he's been putting phenomenal content out there, like actionable items.
Cool. And then, Kamal, here's the one, people can check this one out with Jim, where he talks about his book, and one of them is The Five Hats of Effective CEOs, Where to Succeed. And he's got some great resources there. So thanks for sharing that. So that's one thing you're thinking about, right? You're thinking about finding constraints and managing your time and what to focus on. And the next thing we were talking about was, which is the next step, which is systemizing the operations, right? So solving the actual bottlenecks once you identify them. So talk about what you're doing around that and some of the playbooks that you're creating because of the looking at and working on the operations.
Yeah, absolutely right. So this realization came like, about 6 months ago, when I had to, whenever managers, they had to, hire like a couple of peoples, and the managers, they spent entire 30 days on training the new hire. And that became a bottleneck. I was like, why did you spend like 30 days training the new hire? Like, he's like, yeah, but if not me, then who, right? I was like, wow. And then, that was the moment I was like, okay, you know what? We need to systemize, document everything, create playbooks, um, so that this problem never comes. And also, it just makes your business more valuable. For example, if you want to sell your company, right? So it just helps you out that way. So from that, moment, know, I bought a course. It's by Zen Pilot. They help you with systemizing stuff, and then I also watched some videos. So just basic things. Started with the workflow, right? What exactly you do, what is the each step, and then started to break it down in SOPs and templates and training. And then you make an org chart, then or every org chart, like see which is the missing key hire that you need to hire on. What are the things that you need to let go and stuff like that. So those are the things that I've been working on. So I think it's going to take about, we're already like 2 months into it, but I think it's a 6 months old. It's a 6 months old. I think 6 month process that will take us, to fully systemize.
You could see here, Kamal, I'm showing, here's Gray McKenzie from Zen Pilot. I wonder if you listened to my podcast episode, but he talked about on the episode how to create a smooth onboarding for your company. And here's the episode with Gray. Gray's awesome. Zen Pilot's great. And it goes in, I was going to ask, what kind of software do you use internally? Obviously, they basically help you, and they helped us actually. They help you implement and use ClickUp as your project management tool. So we moved from Asana to ClickUp. I'm wondering what things that you use internally. And from a process standpoint, we use Suite Process. I had Owen McGab on to talk about Suite Process. We use that from like our centralized database of SOPs and ClickUp. What are some of the things that you use for your company?
Okay, so for project management, we were using Trello before, then we moved to ClickUp now. So ClickUp has been working really well. After buying their course, we can do like, 100 times more what we're doing right now with ClickUp. So we're gonna, spend a lot of time there. That's our main project management software. But with our sales, management software, where we use Close CRM, which has been working really, really well for us. And and these are the primary, softwares that we're using. Other than that, they're all everything, else is just common, like Slack, you know, Zapier, you know, Gmail, like bunch of that's a very common softwares. But these are the two main ones that we use.
Yeah, I want to give a shout to Owen from Sweet Process. This has been game changing for us from like we put all our processes on Sweet Process, then we link them in ClickUp for, obviously the PM tasks there. So thanks, Owen, for creating Sweet Process. We're power users of them for sure. Any other favorite, from I guess, systemizing perspective? You mentioned, Zen Pilot and Gray. Any other books or resources that you like from helping systematize?
Yeah, so there's one thing we installed in our business which helped me like significantly. You know, it's called a CEO dashboard. Some people call it like company scorecard. It's a simple Google sheet. Maybe I can send you the template. Where you have all your managers come on a weekly call and they would talk about like all those KPIs that you have set. For example, the number one the main KPIs that we track is the new sales, then repeat and reoccurring sales, and number three, like the back end offer sales, right? So these are the three different types of cash flows that we track. So so all three managers would come and talk about like how they're doing on week by week, see if they're on track to hit the target, if they're falling behind, like are they going to cover it up or do they need additional support to meet that target. And then again the fulfillment, what's our turnaround time, how many 5-star reviews we got, uh, you know how many days we take normally, to complete a project, uh, how many projects we completed. That's like fulfillment. Then, photography, how many samples we received, how many, shoots we completed, what's our reshoot percentage. Then every, department we have like the main KPIs that we have defined. So we jump on a weekly call and we talk about that. It's a 1 hour long call, but it just helps you so much. Number one, as a CEO, you only need to do that call technically in a week and your business will run on its own if you have managers in place, and you will have the bird's eye view of what exactly is happening within the company. Second thing, your team will be held accountable because they sometimes, we just by installing this, some of the departments we saw like, from flat or declining to an uptick just because, the managers, they will be held, they were like being self, accountable because they had to come and present their numbers. That was number one. Number three, it was super, you know, the alignment of vision, like that was like that worked out so well because everybody knew like what are some of the KPIs that I care and what are some of the KPIs they will be judged on, and everybody is just working towards making that KPI right. And lastly, it just helps you so much emotionally, like mentally, because sometimes you have slow days, right? Slow day of sales, high day of sales. You get a bad review, you get a good review. So there's like now you don't go into the roller coaster of emotions because next week you're gonna have the entire picture in front of you, right? So you start to look at a little bit bigger picture than day-to-day life, so which helps you stay more stable. And you know what? I'm missing the important part. In that dashboard, every KPI is either a green, yellow, or red, right? If there's a red, that's where your focus is going. So you're trying to turn reds into yellows and yellows into greens. Now you know where exactly you need to work, what is the health of your overall company. That was like it's a simple Google sheet, but a game changer for at least for me, like personally and also like business wise.
Was that key to revamping the sales team, or
No,
is
the
that
sales
something
team,
different?
that was something different. The sales team, okay, so this is, uh, so we are all organic, like all the leads that we get, they're either coming from SEO or business partners or like, influencer marketing, stuff like that. So they're very warm leads. So I always believed that we could sell, our conversion rate is low, like 100 people sign up, and we were only 100 people, like, they submit the form to request a quote, and we were only closing them 25% of the time. And there was like big you know change in the top closer and the bottom closer, like the difference was like huge. And I always thought that there is a better way and we're doing something wrong. That's like in my head. And one day I came across there's a company called closers.io. So it's Cole Gordon. So I one of my friends introduced me to them. We jumped on a call, and what they do is they help you out with you know scripting your sales, right? So they help you like build a sales script, find a closer, then they help you train that closer, And that was like a new horizon. Like the talent pool that they had was like really, really good. And we hired a closer from them. And then now we know, like we have, before that, we did not even have a sales script. So once we had the sales script, we had like really good people who were like willing to work commission based, who were hungry. And then, we implemented a few things. For example, every morning we're going to do a sales call. Okay. We're going to take a look at your daily, meetings which are scheduled, and do some preparation on that and talk about your previous day. So that was one thing we implemented. Second thing, hey, before you go home, like end of the day, report needs to be sent. Like, how did all those meetings go? What did you learn? What was the challenge and stuff like that? That was the second thing. Third thing we implemented, that you need to fill out like your tracker every single day, which will give us like the true picture of the sales, team, like what's our show up rate, what's our like set percentage, what's our close rate, and you can break it down per closer as well. So by just doing that, our sales like doubled, like new sales, because previously we had like no structure and everything, and from like having a no structure to to hiring closers.io, which trains like world class closers. We were like, wow, there's a big J curve in those sales that we saw like that month. So that's the story behind revamping the sales team.
That's really valuable. Well, thanks for sharing that. I know for you, networking is huge. I mean, you run events all over Canada, even in the US, and masterminds as well. What are some of the ones that maybe you've been a part of or you hear are good as far as masterminds or groups go?
Okay, masterminds that have been working really well for me. There's like three I can name. One is, the Cole Gordon's mastermind. So after the first, like, the closers and, sales process, they sold us the backend. They were like, hey, you will meet like, 8-figure entrepreneurs at one place. You can ask questions and stuff like that. So they do like in-person events. So it's called 8-figure boardroom. That mastermind has been absolutely, super valuable. Like we're loving that. That's one. And the second one is, it's called Offer Mafia. It's the secret mastermind of like Amazon agency owners. So we're part of that, and we do like monthly calls, share our like top wins from the past 12 months. Like, what is the most profitable thing you have done in the last 12 months? Everybody just shares like one thing that was most profitable, and that's been a very valuable for me. But it's so much focus that it's also helping us with the partnering, new partnerships and referrals and everything. Like we have partnered with like many agencies from that group, which is helping. And exact same thing from the 8-figure boardroom. Like were top Amazon coaches in this space. They were also part of that 8-figure boardroom. We signed up a deal, so now they refer clients to us. So like we had like direct ROI, positive ROI, not from the course, but from partnering from people inside the course.
Love it. You helped the company triple sales, but you took an 80-20 approach. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So on Amazon, what really, uh, everybody is like spending so much money on PPC, making, their ads appear on like the keywords that they want to be appeared on. And, they're investing a lot on the like videos and, on creatives and everything. But there's one area in your Amazon business which can triple your sales without doing much work and without spending a lot of money. If you change your main image, that can double or triple your traffic. Because if somebody is searching for, let's say, garlic press on Amazon, right? So you see like 50 results in the search results. Which one are you going to click on, right? There's only few factors that are like, people will click on either listings that appear on top, or listings which are cheaper, or listings that got better reviews, or something which is a bestseller or Amazon choice badge, right? These are the factors which decide which list, where people would click on. But as a seller, you don't control those factors. Reviews given by the clients, badges given by the Amazon, price is dictated by the market, right? And as a seller, what you really control is your main image and the title. So if you try to come up with a picture which stands out from those 50 results, your likelihood of people clicking on your listing goes up. If it goes up, that means even if your conversion rate stays the same, your sales would double and triple. So what we really focused on with that brand, and now we're doing it with like pretty much all the brands that we work with, is just create 3 to 4 different main images. We split test them, and then we upload it on Amazon. And sometimes they see an uptick in traffic like right away, and then and then they see sales boost. Sometimes they see an uptick in traffic but not in sales. That means we are driving irrelevant traffic. So the purpose of the main image is to increase traffic on your listing, but also to decrease the irrelevant traffic, which means if relevant traffic is coming to your Amazon listing, your conversion rate would go up because more of those people are going to buy. If your conversion rate goes up, your ranking in the search result will go up, which ultimately means more sales, and it's a loop, right? You're just fixing one little thing, and that just fixes everything. Now your PPC is more profitable, right? You're so yeah, it's just the 80-20 rule, and that 20% also has 80-20 in it. I find that the main image is the 4%, which brings the 96% results. Yeah.
I love it. I love how you think 80-20. I'm trying to teach my kids that principle because I think just in life, it applies to anything, right? What made you decide to acquire a company?
Okay, when I started AMZ One Step, when I was building the website, the initial days, I took inspiration from Kenji ROI. Like that company existed before us, and I've been like monitoring and following them very closely. If they would write a blog, we would write a blog. If they would do a YouTube video, we would do exactly the same thing, right? And we did it so well that our company got bigger. And one day, and then we got friends with Denny, the former CEO of Kenji ROI. Like we got friends, and then he just messaged me one day. He was like, okay, hey, I think I'm burnt out. I want to do some other things in my life, and I think you would be a great fit to buy this company. And I think it was more of a emotional decision. I was like, okay, sounds good and logical too, but more of an emotional, because I really wanted to acquire the company which I took inspiration from in the beginning stages of my business. And I thought it would be super cool to just own that. And then the second reason, obviously, we can blend the best of both worlds and create something very valuable. So that's exactly what we did. And it was like super easy for us to understand like their clients, their business, the synergy was there, and it was very smooth transition. I did not even feel like we did something big. It was just like, oh, okay, sounds good. Just do the introduction meetings and everything, and these things just happened very smoothly.
Kamal, talk about how do you decide to structure the deal, right? It's your first acquisition. What are some of the ways you decided to structure it?
Okay, so it was human in the payment. Like, how did we pay? Or
Yeah, did you just, I mean, there's probably a lot of ways to slice it, right? He could have kept equity in it, and he could have seller financed it. You could, a lot of different ways. How do you decide to structure, a deal like that?
so we bought entire like 100% of the company, and then it was all cash. Like we were like, okay, we're gonna pay you in 4 months. Like we divided that up. So yeah, it was all cash deal, 4 months payment plan. We bought 100% of everything. We kept their team. We kept their Bali studio. That team is still with us. Um, yeah, so it was like, as I mentioned, it was very smooth. There's nothing like a M&A thing that happened. So yeah,
How did you come up with the valuation?
the valuation. Um, they were not making much profit. Creative companies, they're difficult to make like a lot of profit, right? So we operate at like 33% at AMZ One Step, but Denny was like struggling to make it, make it profitable. Um, he did make a lot of money, but there was like ups and downs. So we bought it when there was no profit. So we were like, how do we value a company which does not have a profit, right? So,
Yeah, because a
but
lot of people will value it off of EBITDA, right? So if there's no profit, how do you come to
exactly.
the valuation?
So two things we did. We were like, okay, if we are profitable, we can make Kenji ROI profitable from month one because it's the same company, exact same service, exact same process. If we are profitable, we can make that profitable, right? That was our belief system. And the second thing was like they were really good on SEO, right? So what we did, we looked at the leads that they got like from the past 12 months and we saw the duplicates, like how many leads they contacted AMZ One Step and they also contacted Kenji ROI. We we minus that number and we saw like okay how many leads you're getting per month and we did our numbers. Okay, if we get these many leads, these many closes, these many sets, this is how much money we would make. And Denny is a smart guy. He knew that just because it's not profitable right now does not mean it does not have any worth. So we calculated our numbers, and there was no benchmark or multiplier. It's like, hey, this is how much we can pay. But then he was like, hey, I know you want it, and this is my price. As I mentioned, it was a very emotional decision as well. And I was like, sounds good, man. Like it's okay. That's kind of how this deal went.
It's interesting. No, thanks for sharing. Because I know a lot of times I'm talking to people, they're not making huge M&A deals. They're dealing with another company that, maybe they're not like hugely profitable sometimes. Sometimes they are, but it's always the question of how do we evaluate this thing when there's value, but maybe it's not showing the same value on the spreadsheet, so to speak.
Exactly. I think value is something where both parties think that it's a win-win situation and you agree to make a transaction, right? So that's how we came up with that number.
Kamal, I have one last question. Before I ask it, I just want to thank you for sharing your journey, your stories, your lessons. It's been really valuable. And I want to encourage people to check out amzonestep.com to learn more. My last question is just on, mentors. We talked a lot about resources. I don't know if there's any mentors in your journey that have helped you along the way. It could be colleagues that became mentors or just mentors that have guided you through this business journey?
I, there's two different kinds of mentors that I've worked with. One is, just being part of masterminds and, taking their courses and taking their advice. That's one. But the other one is like, the top personalities out there. Like, I'm a big fan of, there's a guy named Mahendra Singh Dhoni. He's a legendary cricket player in India. And he talks about, you know you focus on your process, focus on your actions, not on the outcome. That kind of really stuck with me. He won the World Cup like 3 times. You know I basically look up to the achievers, high achievers, in life, and try to just get something out from them and implement in my life. But I never really had a one-on-one kind of mentor, who's helped me out there. But I do think I may get one in the near future. But as of now, these are the only two kinds of mentors that I had in life.
I love it. I mean, I think masterminds, they have a bunch of mentors kind of baked into them. And then you have your distant mentors who have achieved amazing things. So I really appreciate it. Everyone check out amzonestep.com, more episodes of the podcast, and we'll see everyone next time. Kamal, thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sailing right now. I'm feeling like 100 grand.